Welcome, Bruce.
And welcome everybody to the next edition of our Sales Edge web conference series. This is actually a series within a series. This is 101 practice improving ideas. It's the fundamentals. And where this comes from is over time we've spoken to, I have personally and others have, to MDRT caliber producers. And they've told us the secrets to their success. So this will be a series of quick hitters, and in a few short minutes on each, we'll cover 20 of the 101 practice improving ideas today. Some of these I'm sure you'll find that you already are doing, and probably successfully. Some may be ones that you've tried in some form or another, and maybe they didn't work for you or you didn't like the results that you got. Others will be ones that you used to do and for whatever reason quit doing because they work so well. Others may be ones that you've never considered. And again, we're going to touch on these. If you have an interest and you think, wow, number 21, number 19, number 17, I want to try that, but I'm not sure how to start, give us a call. Financial Brokerage can help on any one of these. So let's get started. What we hope to accomplish today on these first 20 practice improving ideas, the objectives we want to achieve are to help you increase your sales, not just more sales but bigger premiums. We want obviously to help you build your bottom line and be more effective and improve your closing ratios and every ratio as you lead from new prospect to new business. We want to help you gain instant credibility with your new prospects and your referrals. And along the way, build their trust. And when you get a new client, maintain that client's loyalty over time because we know they buy again and again and provide for referrals. We want you to beat the competition. We want you to be able to outthink, outdo, outachieve them, not just beat the competition, be the competition. And once on top, I'm sure you want to stay on top. And by implementing these, some of these, and maybe some others that we talk about next month and the next month, you'll be able to do that. So let's look at number one. This is cross-selling on purpose. What we know, what the industry tells us, is that the time to cross-sell is the first time you meet a new prospect. The time to cross-sell is when you're closing the first sale with a new client. Because we also know that the client who has more than one policy with you is much more likely to stay your client and keep what they have. If you're able to help them with different product lines, they're even more likely still to buy more and be more loyal, provide more referrals, more cross sales, more add-on sales, and so on. So how do you do that? That's kind of the question. The key is in fact-finding and finding out their feelings to identify multiple needs. A number of producers tell us, yeah, I fact-find, but it's all in my head, or I fact-find and I just write down on a yellow pad. What the MDRT level guys tell us is that they use a prepared fact finder so that they can identify on purpose multiple needs, and then they build in a process for staying in touch to make sure that when we've identified another sale or a bigger sale, we stay in touch to make sure we get back to them to make sure that they take care of that. We want to describe our practice as multi-need, multi-product. We don't want to be the single-threaded producer. We want to schedule the follow-up at policy delivery. The best time to prepare for the next sale is as you're delivering the policy on the last one. Most top producers use a wave contact strategy, and we'll talk more about that here in a little while. And a client management system is a must today. Even if it's paper files and one-card system cards, a client management system is what makes this go. Number two is conducting annual reviews. It's amazing when we know that Americans buy life insurance again 7 times in their lifetime, and that 20% of them buy again every year. It's amazing how many clients and policy owners are left to their own device to find a new producer because the agent that sold the business doesn't stay in touch. And if 20% of your clients buy again every year, that means for someone with 100, say 200 clients, we know that there are 40 sales built in as long as we get back in touch with them and do the kinds of things that we know how to do. So the kind of results that you get from conducting annual reviews are cross-sales, follow-on sales, referrals, persistency. By the way, it's the right thing to do. If we promise in our first sale that we're going to stay in touch, we really ought to do it. If you don't have an annual review process in place and would like to know how to do that and tools that you can use, again, Financial Brokerage can help. That's what we do. And you look on screen there and you see an example of what one of those, a section of one of those might look like. Here's one that in today's high gas prices, long distances, everybody's busy kind of world, doesn't happen as often as it used to, and that's delivering policies in person. It's one of the biggest difference makers in cementing the sale, maintaining and building clientele, and building your business. So the key advice that the MDRT caliber guys tell us is schedule the policy delivery in advance. Don't just happen by when you're in the neighborhood. Don't put it in the mail. Don't stick it in the mailbox. Don't leave it on the porch. Schedule it in advance. Make sure that everybody who ought to be there is present. If it's 2 business owners or 3 business owners, they all ought to be there. If it's a husband and a wife, they all ought to be there as well. What they also tell us is there ought to be a set agenda, one that you share with your clientele. There ought to be a summary that you follow. You see an example there on screen that's kind of a checklist. Here's the things that we want to talk about. It gives you an opportunity to resell the need, set up the next sale, schedule the annual review, and obtain high caliber, high quality referral endorsements. You also see on screen there one of our Sales Edge white papers on the delivery difference. If you want one of those, visit our website or call your sales manager. They'll help you get a copy of that so that you can learn a little bit more about delivering policies and delivering them in person. One that's not delivered in person is one that's waiting to lapse, so it makes a big difference. Here's one. Know the blue chips. I don't know, most of you probably are familiar with poker. You know, you play poker at home and you have plastic poker chips, and there's white ones and there's red ones and there's blue ones. And the white ones and the red ones aren't really worth as much as the blue ones. So we know that if we wanted to have a stack of chips in front of us when we're playing poker, we'd sure like a whole bunch of blue ones if we could. And we can relate that to the high priority activities that a producer has to do. Those are the activities that have a highly disproportionate impact on your sales results. And when push comes to shove, those are the ones that a producer ought to do more of and block out the time for, do them first, do them often. The key question would be, what are those blue chips? They're the ones when a producer is in front of a prospect or a client, or they're the activities that help put the producer there. So the on-the-ball producer will program his or her day so that it's filled all the way to the top with blue chip activities, because those are the ones that really matter. And everything else can fill in around it, but if we don't schedule those first, they may not get scheduled at all. We want to be, as MDRT level guys want to be, those top club level, trip level kinds of guys and gals. They promise a lot and they over-deliver. They set their own expectations high. What one person said to me one time was, you know, just good enough should never be good enough. It shouldn't be good enough for me and my own expectations and my own results, and it shouldn't be enough for my clients as well. So I set their expectations high, and I'm going to make sure that I deliver every bit of that and maybe then some. And so that means for for most producers, that means they have to put processes in place to make sure that they program their day and their week and their year so that they can live up to those promises. If they don't do that, lots of times it doesn't happen. Here's number 6. It's get better, get smarter. I don't know how many of you have read The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen R. Covey. One of those 7 habits that he mentions, he calls sharpen the saw. And basically what he's trying to say is keep your tools ready to go for your business. And the biggest tool we have is how much we know how to do, and the service and support that we can provide via our brain power. And that allows us to build instant credibility because we really are prepared. And we can do that through industry programs, CLU, CHFC, CFP, those kinds of things. We will get smarter, but we can also borrow the perception of other producers, peers, mentors, others. And guess what? When we think we're done, we're not. This really is a lifelong process. It's a lifelong learning event. It's a marathon, not a sprint. When we think we've arrived, we're wrong. Everything is changing. I've been in the business a long time. This is not the business I started in, not even close. So anyone who's been in it 30 years or 20 years or 10 years probably can say in many ways how it has changed and that they've had to change with it. So we need to get smarter, and get better all along. One way we can do that is by blocking our time. You've all heard of the ABC method: A, top priority; B, mid-level priorities; and C, not a priority item. And those folks that have developed and trained people on time management say, do the A's. Always do the A's. Don't even worry about the others particularly. And those priorities have to be first, things like client meetings, getting in front of clients, and so on. But it also means in blocking your time that you block all the other things that need to happen. One of those that the MDRT always stressed was make room for family time, personal time, recreational time. Put it on your calendar. Don't let anything else violate that time. There's a book called How to Get Control of Your Time and Your Life by the author Alan Laken, and he has the Laken question, and he says you ought to ask yourself this periodically, maybe every day. What's the best use of my time right now? And for producers, it's how do I get in front of people? What do I do when I'm in front of people? And make sure that I'm doing that. And block all that time out. So, and it might include study time, it might include recreational time, exercise time, self-improvement time, me time, as well as family time. If we block our time, we'll find we use our time that much better. Alan Laken says if you're wasting your time, you're wasting your life, and we don't want to do that. Let's talk about fact-finding. We talked a little bit about that before. It ought to be part of everyone's process. It ought to be an on-purpose activity. If somebody's really good at it without using a form, they'd be 100 times better if they used a prepared fact finder of some sort, one that is appropriate to the position, the circumstance of the person they're working with. So there are business fact finders, there's personal fact finders, there's estate planning fact finders, so all those kinds of things. By the way, at Financial Brokerage, if you don't have a good fact finder, we can help. So make that part of your process, because then you have a permanent record written down in an organized form that you can use to develop the need, to revisit at the annual review. It helps you determine what are those follow-on sales that I need to get back to, that if I'm doing a good job, I will get back to. And if I've got 300 or 400 or 500 clients, I don't have to keep it all upstairs in my head. I've got a place to go back and revisit that. Here's an interesting one. In 2011, a producer who has a web presence is doing what he probably needs to do or she needs to do. One who doesn't is probably starting to fall behind because many clients expect it. They see this as a sign of professionalism. It's a way, if structured properly, for a producer to identify new clients. It's a key tool in maintaining existing client relationships. And if you're interested, don't have a website, or are unhappy with your website, again, Financial Brokerage can help. Visit our website or give us a call. Give your sales manager a call. We have several very nice packages, from the very customized to the out-of-the-box version, and it's something designed for every producer. But again, a web presence, being on the internet, is not just something that's going to fade away. It has become kind of the rule, and we all ought to abide by that. Number 10, ask questions and then shut up. We were talking about fact-finding. This kind of ties into this. Every producer ought to have his or her antenna up and find out what's on their clients' minds, but let the clients talk. Someone has estimated that the client ought to talk 75% of the time, and the producer maybe a quarter of the time. Because if we let them talk, they'll tell us what they want. They'll tell us what they don't want. It comes across in code, but it's, in their language it says, here's how you close this sale. Pay attention, and I'll buy. This is what my objections will be. Answer them before they come up, and you'll be in a very good position to make sure that this sale happens. And it's focusing, we say fact-finding, but it's facts and feelings. Joe Friday on Dragnet said, just the facts, ma'am. But it's really more about the feelings, the feeling-finding, open-ended questions. When we let them kind of dream out loud and probe for additional information that maybe they're not providing, dig a little deeper, they'll tell us. They'll lay out the roadmap for what they want. All we have to do is find a way to deliver it, and we can make the sale, because they're just telling us how to do it. So let's ask questions. Let's not be afraid to let some dead air be there and let them talk. A producer, an MDRT level producer, club level, trip type producer, generally are those folks that join groups, clubs, associations, because they find that it's a great networking approach, and it helps them build their business. And it's a great idea for producers to join groups and associations where their own interests lie. There is a time commitment, but it can pay for itself by building relationships that they wouldn't otherwise have, that ultimately can lead to new clients, new referrals, and so on. It helps a producer be visible. So it's a good referral source. It expands prospecting efforts. The Rotary, Toastmasters, the Republicans, the Democrats, being a volunteer, being a speaker, getting involved in your own neighborhood, getting involved in civic organizations, in sports and other club-type things, be a coach for an adult league or for kids. Great way to meet people. So the producer who's visible in groups and association will help build the business in ways they wouldn't otherwise be able to do. Here's one that we hear so often from top-level producers who say, when I set about to define the market that I wanted to be in, my business exploded. They took the time to say, who do I really want to work with? Who am I best prepared to do a good job with? How can I then decide how to go about it and develop the methods and the tools that I need? And how do I get good enough at it that I will be effective in it? It's how you bring value to that relationship, and by identifying those ideal clients, you can become the best at it. You see on screen this action planning workbook. Well, we have that available here at Financial Brokerage that helps take you through market definition and how you implement a marketing plan for a specific market niche, or more than one. So if you need that, we can help. Most top producers say, I developed an elevator talk. We all know what an elevator talk is. It's something that's a short and to-the-point description of what and how we see our practice, what we do. It's our value proposition, short enough that we could tell the story in a short elevator ride, so an elevator talk. Now, we don't want to give away too much, but it's designed to create curiosity, Get someone who we've described our practice to curious enough that they want to hear more. And it ought to be designed around appealing to that ideal client that we described in our market development process that we've taken, that we talked about previously. It's our value proposition, and it ought to be in terms that for the client, they can say, what's in it for me? There's a good example of how it creates curiosity. There was a gentleman who, when asked what he does, he said, I sell hammers. I sell hammers. And most people would say, really? That's what you do? And what he really did was he was the owner, the founder of a tool company that made hammers and screwdrivers and wrenches and so on. So his elevator talk is what he called his hammer talk. And it was, here's what I do. I equip individuals and businesses and tradesmen and homeowners with the tools that they need to accomplish the tasks that they want to do on their own. And that's his hammer talk. Something similar to that for an elevator talk we could develop for our own. Everybody knows who Vince Lombardi was. He was the coach of the Green Bay Packers in their heyday in the late 50s and into the 60s. And he was a taskmaster. His players probably, it was love-hate for sure. They probably hated everything that he made them do, but he loved the results that he got. And one thing that he believed in was what has come to be called Lombardi time. And his rule was, if you want to show up, you need to show up early to be on time. He understood that half the battle is just showing up, and another big chunk is being on time. And if we want to make sure that we're on time, we're ready to go, he said 15 minutes early. Now, somebody could say that's a waste of time, but is it? If we arrive early, we're doing what our competition doesn't do. If we're really there on time and then some, we're setting ourselves apart. What can we do with that extra time so that it's not just dead air? If we're working with a client, a prospect, we can review the fact finder. We can practice what we want to say in our head while we wait. We can study the illustrations. We can prepare in our mind what the close is going to sound like. We can anticipate objections. Then when we do get a chance to spend some time with the client, we're ready. If we didn't have that 15 minutes, it might not make a big difference, but over time, it will result in extra sales. Vince Lombardi believed it. I guess I would side with him. Top producers say, I've got a client management system. Sometimes it's a card, it's a one-card system, it's cards and files, it's paper, and that's okay. But it's designed to build and maintain clients, give you an opportunity to stay in contact. It can be electronic, and we can help, or it could be in paper form, more mechanical, more manual. But the right client management system allows you, as a producer, to follow up automatically and non-automatically. The automatic ones are the ones that the system does for you. Make sure that it reminds you of. You don't have to write it down on a slip of paper or keep it in your head. It's going to show up. And the non-automatics are the ones that you've decided on in advance. I need to see you next Tuesday because you said you can't talk this week. I need to get back with you after your taxes are done. I need to make sure that I'm in touch with you when you complete planting if you're a farmer, after the inventory for a business owner, after graduation when you're working with a family with kids. Client management system also allows you to data mine. So you have a new product that fits a certain market niche. You can mine the data that you have in your management system to make sure that you get in touch with those people whose demographics and attributes fit that product. Data mining allows you to talk to the right people at the right time and talk about the right things, and that gives every one of us a leg up. Richard Wildman is kind of the guru of wave contact strategies. He's made a living doing that. He's a nationally known speaker, and he says that those producers who employ a wave contact strategy are miles ahead of the competition. Someone who gets in touch and stays in touch will build credibility, keep their name in front of the clients and prospects. Richard Wildman says probably something in their hands every quarter or more often, newsletters, cards, articles, handwritten notes, with a phone follow-up. It would include having a birthday lunch, an annual review, those kinds of things as well. If you don't know and don't have a newsletter and would like to know how to put one of those in play, we can help. Contact us. If you are interested in some other wave contact pieces that you could send, you see a magazine there on screen that you can provide to your clientele with your picture pasted throughout it, with your personalized, customized letter to your clients. You can do that as well. So the smart producer will implement a wave contact strategy at least quarterly. It builds your presence, it builds your credibility, it helps you stay in contact with high-value prospects. You don't want to risk losing them, and you don't want to always be making low-percentage cold calls to people who may or may not remember you. We want them to remember us. So if we can get our face and our name and our and information that we provide out to them, we'll be way ahead of the curve. Again, FB can help. Let us do that. Well, all of us should be a sponge and learn from others. You know, we have a lifelong commitment to learning, but it isn't just studying books, and it isn't just business. It's those people who commit to getting better in their business and in their personal life are better in their business because of it. And it's not just what I know, it's what I know how to do. When we think we know it all, we don't. We've already lost. So the smart producer will spend time with peers, with mentors, with managers, with home office staff, attending meetings, you know, not just for the CE credit, but to actually learn something, taking up a hobby that will help build a skill. All of that, if we put it to use, will make us a better producer. We'll interact better with our clientele, and our results will be better. Each of us ought to have a client acquisition process, something that we can describe. So if the elevator talk is a short 30-second or 20-second description of what we do, the client acquisition process is a much more in-depth version of that. It's an end-to-end process. It's how we identify new clients. It's how we develop the need. It's how we close the sale. It's how we provide ongoing service. It's how we stay in touch and cross-sell and gain referral endorsements and loop back and, again, meet with another new client. And if we can describe this to our clients up front, they'll be impressed. They'll know that this is a professional practice that they're dealing with, and they will be able to build credibility and trust. A number of top producers put this process, describe it in a brochure or in a single page that they hand out. Here's how I work with my clients, and here's the kinds of things we'll be doing together. And then as we go to the various steps, we can talk about the specifics of what that requires of them. There won't be any surprises. So a client acquisition process is key. Smart producers volunteer their expertise. They seek out clubs. They don't wait for a group or an association to call them. They volunteer as speakers, or they serve on a committee. They become known as an expert in something. And this will jumpstart client acquisition and referral gathering. And if this is something that you're not doing, it's pretty easy, because lots of groups and associations are begging for people to speak. They're begging for people to participate, and it's easy, not easy necessarily, but easier to become an expert in something that we care about and that we do for a living than it is in anything else. So if you're not volunteering your expertise, you really ought to. We talk about goals a lot, and everybody says, oh yeah, I do goals. But I wonder sometimes, and that's what the top producers tell us, they say they take it to the next level. They describe goals of how much I want to do it by when, in what way do I want to make it happen? And I want to have an action plan to help me achieve it. It's what the Kinder brothers, Jack and Gary Kinder, would call boiling it down to the doable components. Doable components every week. One of the top producers here in the Omaha area has a revenue goal every day, and he's a top level MDRT kind of guy, and he's got a revenue goal every day, and he breaks it down into, here's what I have to do activity-wise to make sure that I have enough going on to accomplish that. And he knows, the Kinder brothers said this, but he knows if we keep score, the score will get better, invariably. So we know that producers with goals achieve more. If they write them down, their results are even better still. And if they share those goals, those objectives, those action plans with someone else whose opinion matters, the results are better still. So the top producer who's written down goals, been very specific about the action planning, and shares that with his or her spouse, or with his or her partner, or another peer, or a manager, or a mentor, or a best friend, and asks them to, gives them permission to hold them accountable, will be far, far better off. The results will be much, much better. Well, let's go back and review. The first 101 practice improving ideas that we talked about are cross-selling on purpose. If we do it on purpose, it's much more likely to happen. If we do it from the start, the first time we meet someone, if we start thinking about what are we going to sell next and next and next, more likely than not we'll have that, and the benefits are huge. If we do that through conducting annual reviews, we'll do the right thing for our clientele, and of course we'll be in position to maintain a client and build from there with cross-sales and add-on sales and referrals and so on. If we deliver policies in person, they'll stay in place. If we know the blue chips, those top priority activities, and do them first, we'll be far ahead of our competition. And if we really want to shine, we'll promise a lot to ourselves and to our clients and make a point of delivering every bit of that and then some. And we have to make sure that we're always getting better and getting smarter, because the world is changing underneath our feet, as well as our business. So we need to take an active, on-purpose approach to being smarter and better at what we do. We need to block our time, fill in those blue chip items right now, and block them in every week, every day, and every week to make sure that they happen. There's plenty of time for all the other stuff, but if we don't put the blue chip priority, a priority type stuff in there first, chances are it won't happen. We need to professionally fact-find, use a form, dig for feelings, probe for what is on their mind, and they'll tell us what they want and how to close the sale. We want to have a web presence. That's almost expected today, and tomorrow for sure it will be. When we're fact-finding, we want to let our customers talk. We want to ask the questions and then button our lip. Too many of us like hearing ourselves talk, and the results aren't as good than when we let our customers talk. We want to be parts of groups and associations. The benefit to us is immense. We want to take time to define our market niches, the markets that we want to attack, and build a strategy around that. The results will be better. We want to develop an elevator talk. We want to be like the guy that sells hammers and know who we are and talk and tell our customers, our prospects, and our clients in terms that mean something to them what it is we do, and arouse their curiosity. We want to be the guy that shows up on time and then some, and fully prepared, just like Vince Lombardi said. We want to follow Lombardi time. If we're not using a client management system, even a paper and pencil one, we're missing a trick. But the electronic ones are high-powered versions of how we can make sure that we follow up on our automatics and non-automatic follow-ups, and we can do the data mining that puts us in touch with the right people at the right time to talk about the right things. And Richard Wildman said, follow a wave contact strategy, and your clients will be yours forever. And if we're a sponge and learn from others, not just what we know, but what we know how to do, we'll be better at it, and we'll stay ahead of our competition. We ought to describe and define what our client acquisition process is and be able to explain it to prospects and clients. Makes sense maybe to write it down, maybe put it in a brochure on a single page that you can hand out, and you can double check and say, here's where we are in the process. Volunteering our expertise is a moneymaker. It takes some time, but the time can be well worth it because it expands the group of folks that we deal with. And finally, if we set our goals and pay attention to our goals and write them down and share them with others, we know if we keep score, the score will get better. So that brings us to the close. I hope you enjoyed it. This is Financial Brokerage, the home for the independent producer. If you don't know about our Shared Success program and our Visa Cash Card, Shared Success Visa Cash Card, make sure you give us a call. Our number is 800-397-9999, and you can visit our website at www.fb-inc.com. Thank you all for attending.